Hello ladies and gentlemen and welcome to Stylosa. My name is Kirioth and today we are going to talk about Steam. Oh yes, what are they been up to now, their little scamps? Oh, who knows? Well, we do know, it's obviously the paid mods on the Steam Workshop, which is a terrible system, badly implemented, and it's already causing serious issues because some modders want to charge for their mod, but their mod relies on some other person's mod, the other person doesn't want to charge, so it means that the original guy's mod gets taken down, which I believe was in early access anyway. By the way, that's a thing now, early access mods. Who'd have thought it? What a world we live in, eh? What a world. You've also got people taking mods from like ModDB and Nexus and putting them on the Steam Workshop and charging money for them, even though they didn't actually make the mod themselves. And of course, Steam's reaction to this is to go, well, between the community and us, I'm sure we'll stop people doing that. Yeah, brilliant. It's worked really well for all your other systems you've implemented. And it's this kind of hilariously cavalier and just really shit attitude to the paid mod situation that's kind of got me thinking about just how terrible Steam's become over the last few years. And every now and again I'm reminded of how bad it is when I play something from early access or something that's been passed through the greenlight system. But it's kind of taken this to make me really put it in focus, you know? Really sit there and you know, think to myself, they are fucking it up really quite badly. Like, they seem to have absolutely no concept of what they're doing at all. I mean, let's look at some of their solutions to some issues. So, indie developers, for instance, really difficult to get your game on Steam. So what do? Well, Steam sets up the greenlight system. That's what they do. And they say, this way, the community can vote on the games that they want. So they are effectively curating Steam for Valve. Which is fine, except it doesn't work at all, in the slightest. As is evidenced by the fact that just last week, a game called Bloodbath Kafka was released, which was essentially just a completely, like, terrible rip-off of Hotline Miami. Like, absolutely shameless rip-off. Exactly the same combat, exactly the same mechanics, exactly the same art style. Well, I say exactly the same. A similar art style, in that it looked very similar, but was worse. And that's fine, apparently. That's still available, you can still buy that, not a problem. Also, the developer likes to insult people on Steam's forums, as well, no less. Yeah, it works really well, that bloody Greenlight system, doesn't it? Congratulations. And if you go to Greenlight, the amount of drivel that gets passed is just incredible. The community should not be the people who are curating Steam. Steam should be curating Steam, because that's what they're fucking there for. That's what it is. It's a goddamn platform for selling games. It's not like... I don't even know what they think it is, and that's the worst thing about it. No matter how much I think about it, I cannot really decide why Steam is happy with giving people who don't have any, like... There's no pressure to make a good decision on Greenlight. Really, is there? Let's face it, there's no, like, if you get this wrong, your account's banned or something. You can just vote for whatever you like, and people do. That's how you get, like, Bloodbath Kafka. That's how I've ended up playing Drivel Path, which, by the way, you'll see in the background at some point, because, oh, what a treat that was. Absolutely stunning. 40 minutes of just walking, listening to some woman being capable of speaking English. Fantastic, fantastic experience. I'd recommend it if you're an idiot. Then you've got things like The Lost Valley, which essentially was exactly the same as Drivel Path, except without anyone talking to you. Oh, and really loud music that they did not do anything to normalise at all. Greenlight doesn't work, right? Greenlight doesn't work because it's not the community's responsibility to vet what gets onto Steam. That's not what they're there for. The community is the customer. The customer should not be the one deciding what might work and what might not work, or being put in a position where they can vote for something that's a bad joke because they want to see it actually get somewhere. That's not a good system, and yet that's the system that Steam relies on for their curation. I mean, that's really poor. There's no standard, there's no quality control in terms of entries. There's no, you know, that is the point of entry. Greenlight is supposed to be the point of entry where a bad game does not get through, but that's not how it works, because frequently bad games get through. And then they stay. That's the worst thing. They stay for sale. So once you've got through the Greenlight system, your terrible ideas made it through. It's a DayZ clone using nothing but stock Unity assets, which again you'll see in the background of this video. You get it through. It goes from Greenlight onto Steam. It costs money, but it's terrible. What happens then? What happens when the game that got greenlit goes on, turns out to be absolutely shite? Nothing. Literally nothing. It just stays there. It's just available for sale. Of course it is. Why would they take it down? The community's done their job. The game has been curated. It has been accepted by the community. Therefore, it should be for sale forevermore, despite the fact that it might be broken or buggy or unfinished, or there could be some sort of horrendous issue with it, or it could just be something that uses nothing but stock Unity assets and therefore required about 5 hours to make, no experience whatsoever, and is just a really shit game. No, it'd still be for sale because it's passed the vetting process. It has been curated. It's absolutely fine. Except, of course, it's not absolutely fucking fine, is it? It's still a waste of space. And then we look at things like early access, for instance. I mean, let's look at early access. Early access has become incredibly popular, and in some cases, I think it's genuinely a good thing. When early access is done right, you know, I'm perfectly happy with it. Let's look, for instance, at Darkest Dungeon. That was an early access. That was a fantastic game. And the way that they update the game and they move on with the game is pretty much dead on. Let's look at, say, Mordheim, for instance. That, to me, is one of the perfect examples of how to do an early access game. There's a very clear roadmap. There's a very clear list of features that's going to be implemented. And they stick to their schedule. You know what you are going to get from that game. They also allow the community for the game to influence what gets put into it next. That's a really good way of doing early access. Let's look at some less good methods of doing early access. Why don't we talk about Dragon, for instance? A game that came into early access last November in 2014. Now, that was a game which went into early access with a single map, a dragon which you could control, no sound, no objectives, pretty much nothing. There was just nothing there. It wasn't a game, it wasn't anything, it was just, I think very loosely you could call it a tech demo, but even then it was a bit lacking in that department. Why don't we have a look at, what's it called? I believe it's After Reset. That's the one, yep, After Reset RPG. Now that cost $50 and, well, nothing happened. You basically got a little bit of a tech demo for After Reset RPG where you got to just wander around a couple of rooms. Nothing was interactable and you couldn't do anything. Let's look at things like the games that are in the background at the moment. For instance, how about The District? That was piss poor. You can see it in the background now. It's terrible. It's awful. It's just bad. It is nothing but just nonsense. Nothing's interactable. The game barely functions. There are frame drops everywhere. And the thing is that this is not an uncommon thing. It happens constantly. Hell, Jim Sterling has made basically an entire YouTube channel solely around playing the shit that turns up on early access on Steam. I mean, if someone can make a living out of how bad your system is failing you, then you've got a fucking problem. And yet Steam don't do anything about it. This stuff constantly gets released. This stuff constantly finds its way into the hands of consumers. And through all of it, there's the repeated mantra of, well, the community's the curator. You know, the community can curate these games. That's why we've got we've even got actual curator pages now where someone can sit there and list the best games on Steam. And again, that's supposed to be somehow some sort of fix for the fact that Steam itself does no work to try and actually keep quality control at an acceptable level. There is no quality control at all. There's no quality assurance on a lot of these games. Quite a lot of this stuff is one guy who's just got hold of Unity, has discovered that all the stock assets can be used as often as you like, and just rammed them into whatever he feels like making. And then it appears on Steam for money. Some poor git buys it and ends up with a pile of shit game that was not worthy to be sold to anybody ever under any circumstances. And yet somehow, to Steam, that's acceptable. That's not a problem. Not an issue. Oh, well, it's fine, the community will curate it, people might buy it occasionally, but eventually it'll get enough negative reviews that no one will touch it. That's not the fucking point. The fucking point is that someone has already bought it. Some poor bastard's already paid money for this thing because the system has failed, because the system is crap, because the system is designed primarily to get money from consumers without doing any actual work to aid those consumers in any way, shape or form. And it's got fucking ridiculous at this point, okay? It has got beyond stupid. And the addition of paid mods is just the newest thing. It's a bad system. The paid mod system does not work. It's a shit system. It requires constant policing by the community, not by Steam, because Steam don't fucking do any of that, by the community. Hell, talking about the community, let's talk about some of the games. Some of the developers of these games that get released and people play and find that it's totally crap. What do? Well, they sit there on Steam's official community forums and insult people and like shout them down and ban them from their section of Steam's own fucking forum. Are you kidding me? Are you really? Do you know how many people have got the power to ban other people or delete posts or do anything of that kind on our forums? Well, there's about 7 of us. And it's people I trust. And it's people that I know. And do you know what? I would never hand out that power to just any old idiot in their own little section, because that leads to abuse. And guess what? The fucking Steam community forums for these games get fucking abused all the time, funnily enough. It's almost as though the hands-off approach of, hey, you're the consumer, you're the community, you sort it out, doesn't actually work. It's almost as though that's what's happening, isn't it? And I think that's because it is, funnily enough. But Steam don't care. Steam aren't changing this. They're not altering it. They're not making it any better. They're not trying to improve it. They're not trying to improve the quality of the products that are sold on their store. They're not trying to improve the quality of the user experience. They're not trying to improve the quality of, well, just the quality of life of the consumers, because, well, they're still able to buy this utter shit. And now they introduced the paid mod system without seemingly any thought for the fact that some mods rely on other mods, and if one person wants to charge and the person who made the other one doesn't want to charge, their solution again is just, oh, you'll have to sort it out amongst yourselves. No. It is not our job to sort out Steam for Valve. It is Valve's job to sort out Steam. It's their platform. It's their storefront. It's their servers. It's their service. Why the fuck are we, the people who use it, expected to keep it under wraps, to keep it under control? That's their fucking job. And you're not telling me they're not making enough to actually do something about it. Instead, they hand it over to the community, because the community are passionate, and the community are gamers, and the community know how to sort these things out. Except the community has no fucking power to sort anything out, because it's still fucking Steam. It's still Steam that's in control of all this shit, and it's still Steam that gets rammed with shit games in early access, with shit games at greenlight. It's getting ridiculous. The addition of paid mods is just the next step in what I can only assume is a road where essentially they just do whatever the fuck they want. And damn the customers, damn the consumers, damn the people who actually use Steam on a daily basis. Because as long as they're giving them money, why the fuck should they care? Where exactly is it going to end? Because we've already had some pretty severe issues with early access, we've had some pretty severe issues with greenlight, and now we're already having severe issues with paid mods, and they're only available for one goddamn game. And the reaction from Valve to all of this has been to ignore it and just carry on. So what's going to happen next? To be honest, I have no idea. And in a way, that's scary, because it's just going to get worse. It genuinely is going to get worse. And then you read things like old Gaben trying to chill people out over the paid mod fiasco. Does he answer the hard questions? No. What's his overall message? Well, I know there's issues, but the community will sort it out. I said no. No, the community should not be sorting this out. The community should be telling Steam to sort itself out. It is not our job to police Valve's fucking distribution service. It is Valve's job to police Valve's distribution service, and it would be really nice if one of these days we could somehow make them fucking recognise that. I'll catch you next time, people. Toodaloo.